We've been talking about education and what's happening in the education sector, and there's a transition into CBC from 844. We already have people who started this thing at grade 3. They are now in grade 8. They're moving into they're moving into grade 9.
Yep.
Yeah. And that is why now we call it a junior school. We stopped calling it the secondary thing.
Yes.
We now it's a comprehensive school. So now it's a junior school. There's one is a what? So the other one is what? The one below the junior school is primary.
It's primary.
So it's primary and then junior school and then senior school.
Yes.
So there's no secondary at all?
No.
They've just told you senior.
Okay.
Sorry.
What do you think secondary is?
They didn't even let us say goodbye properly.
Haujamaliza secondary? So haujamaliza senior?
No,
yes.
Senior school.
Then from senior you go to university.
Okay.
Or TVET.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, there has been this conversation about the quality of education that's offered in public schools and the quality of education offered in private schools. Let's talk about that, the gaps in this. We have two people who are experts on this education system, the CBC education system. Elphas Omunandi Chisienya is the administrator and curriculum development expert at Kitengela International Schools. And John Wanyonyi is the principal at the Kitengela International Junior School. John Elphas, good morning.
Good morning.
Karibuni sana to Kenya's biggest conversation. Is Kitengela International School in Kitengela?
Yes, indeed, it's in Kitengela.
Okay.
However, we have other two branches along Mombasa Road.
Where on Mombasa Road?
Beijing Road at Syokimau, where we have the Syokimau branch. And the Athi River, the Great Wolves Garden, where we have another branch, the Athi River. Yes.
Now we start calling it KISS.
KISC. K-I-S-C.
Kitengela International School.
Yes.
And the C?
So the main branch is at Kitengela.
Okay. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the junior school. We'll talk about CBC and the transition. First, CT will give you the day's proverb. And today's proverb is from?
The Kingdom of Eswatini. Yes. Formerly known as Swaziland.
Remind Wairimu again, the people from Eswatini are called? The Eswatinians. What's the proper?
They're not called Eswatinians. Why don't we ask them if they know what they're called?
Wairimu Wanyonyi, what do you call somebody, a national of Eswatini?
Pardon, please?
Somebody from Eswatini. Though you are Kenyan,
yes,
or Tanzanian,
or Ugandan.
If you're from Eswatini, you call you what?
Latiff, I'm not quite sure. I don't know what to say. Yes, Swazilandian.
All right. At least you made an attempt.
Yes.
Elphas?
Maybe I'll go with the Swatini itself. But I'm not sure.
Okay, they are people called Emaswati.
Emaswati.
Yes. The person is called Liswati.
That's one person.
One, like you are Lee. So
Liswati.
Liswati.
Two of you are Emma.
Swati.
Okay.
And the language?
Oh, the language is Siswati.
Siswati.
Yes. So like Kenyan, the language is Kenyanese.
Yes. That's a good challenge for today.
Yes.
Thank you. Great one.
Okay. Yeah. The proverb.
The antelope that constantly moves, or no, let me stop paraphrasing and read what it actually says. The antelope that is constantly moving will fall into a pit.
The antelope that is constantly moving will fall into a pit. Wairimu Elphas, what do you say interpretation of this proverb?
I think it's directly linked to maybe another proverb that goes, a rolling stone possibly gathers no more, where that is my perspective, based on the fact that if you keep moving from maybe this place, maybe this job to this job, definitely you find that you are not gaining, you lose friends, you lose a lot in terms of accumulation, and at the end, you don't become stable. That's my perspective. Yeah.
It's an excellent perspective.
Very good one. Very good. Wanyonyi?
For me, I want to put it in a perspective that if you are in constant motion, of course, you'll end up somewhere. And for the antelope, the ultimate destination or the ultimate destiny possibly is running into being a pet. Yeah, so in life, once we're in constant motion, there's an ultimate destination that you'll have to learn to. So it's just enlightening us to watch out our movements and our steps and be very careful.
Mbio za mbugani huishia shimoni. Mbio za swara huishia shimoni. Okay. So let's get an introduction into Kitengela International School. Mwalimu John Wanyonyi.
Thank you for this moment. John Wanyonyi, the school principal for the junior school, as you said. Kitengela International School is a group of schools offering both the local curriculum and the international. And when we talk of the local curriculum, we have the competency-based curriculum that's running across all our schools. We still have also 844, Kitengela International Girls High School, which are just facing out. We have now 3 classes to go. We also have the British International Curriculum, where we offer the international curriculum from early years all the way to A levels. So that's briefly what Kitengela, the group of schools, entails. As I mentioned earlier, we have got the main school at Kitengela, where we host the 5 campuses. That's the primary section, the junior school, girls' school, and the British International Curriculum. Along Ombaso Road, I mentioned earlier, at Sokimau Beijing Road, we have Kiskati River, which runs purely the competent-based curriculum from early years to grade 8, now heading to grade 9. Then at Kisk, at the river, that's the Great Walls Garden. We also have CBC from early years to grade 8.
This Kitengela International Girls High School is purely 844?
That's purely 844.
So where does one get into the British curriculum one?
The British curriculum one is both day and mixed. And when you want to transit from the local curriculum to international curriculum, of course, you just have an entry examination where it will be placed accordingly. Yeah, so it depends on the ages and the levels, and also at a time you are joining. Where, for example, now they're having their first term for the international curriculum. Yeah, so if somebody wishes to join the international curriculum from the 844, it will depend if they're in Form 1, they want to join maybe year 8, they'll be able to start from there. Form 2s, maybe it might start from year 9, depending on the entry behavior from the assessment exam they'll be given.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's the one offering the British curriculum called? Is it called the Kitengela International British Curriculum School?
It's just called Kitengela International School.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
We are under one umbrella.
I see.
Yes.
And all in that same complex in Kitengela?
Yes.
All right. So now we are seeing the transition from 844 into CBC. Among the things that we've talked about is, first of all, the challenges initially were, have teachers been properly brought up to skill to deliver CBC? Have the schools had the proper facilities to deliver CBC? Do they have enough space for this? And so on and so forth. I want to come to you, Alphas, because you are an expert on the delivery of this curriculum. What does that mean, you being an expert in delivering of curriculum delivery?
Okay, being an expert in curriculum delivery basically means you interpret the curriculum in collaboration with KICD, and you train the teachers. You ensure that the teachers or the facilitators, we no longer use teachers currently, use facilitators, and their main job or your main job is to ensure there is a proper acquisition of skills by the facilitators, by proper interpretation of the curriculum, and ensuring that they are able to use the proper pedagogies, the methodologies that are required by the KICD and the Ministry of Education. So that is the key role that I play there, to ensure that the teachers have the requisite skills that are required to implement the curriculum.
Did you go through training yourself or skilling yourself?
Yeah, my first training was in 2016, and I also did another one in 2018. And we have continuous trainings as an institution. I've gone to around 5 to 8 trainings on curriculum implementation under CBC. We have also assisted in also coming up with facilitation materials like textbooks, like the KLB. I aided a little bit from its beginning, that was in 2016, to come up with materials of English. And from there, I think I will say I really learned a lot about CBC, and I'm a champion of CBC. Yeah.
What's the difference then between CBC and 844?
Okay, as CBC as it goes, majorly it is competency-based curriculum. So this one goes with the abilities or the competencies a learner is having. So we measure on ensuring that we identify the competencies early. And like 844, we never went for competencies. We were like targeting just one element. How well can someone remember? And that was risky, because we may say some of individuals out here, their lives might not be the same if their talents or their competencies were identified in time and nurtured as the CBC is doing. And I think CBC is the way to go. Yeah.
So what is it about the CBC that enables you to understand the competencies that you say with the 844 system one could not understand, measure?
Okay, with CBC, the approach is different because first we understand that there is a fish, there is a lion, there is a grasshopper. All these are creatures, and they cannot compete on the same basis. Like a fish, you cannot put a fish in a field and a vehicle and Mr. Latiff to have the same competition and win, because they can thrive in different environments. So based on that, we notice that learners also have different abilities in different environments. There is this learner who will never sit down and listen, but when you take them to the field, you will see them delivering or being able to play that game and score goals, and is happy because that is their passion. Unlike 844, it was like one band radio where it is just one way. You either you know it or you don't know it.
Okay, but how exactly does this work out? I mean, you have regular class sessions, don't you?
You do.
Are they still 40 minutes? Are they? Is that
35 for
Yeah,
primary,
35.
40 for junior school.
Okay, so what is it that you do to ensure that you can identify these competencies and then follow the pathways that you mentioned that the CBC offers?
Thank you. In the curriculum designs, or in the previous one, curriculum, they used to call it syllabuses. In the curriculum designs, we have what we call authentic tasks. Authentic tasks are like projects that are geared towards ensuring that learners realize their competencies, and they are done in levels. So you'll find in levels, there are authentic tasks that are given that go in line with the age of the learner or the level of the learner. And you will notice that in CBC, we have the aspect of inclusivity, where the learners who are perceived in the past that they were special, they weren't special because they just had a different way of viewing things. And in one way or another, I always say maybe they might be thinking we are the ones who are not, we are special. So to them, we just call them gifted differently. And you realize that with the authentic tasks, if that learner was having a challenge in getting the concept in class, that one of one-on-one, is able to execute an activity on a table and get it right, unlike the concept that was being given in class theoretically. So you notice that is the way you will notice this learner is different from this one. Another one is we have so many activities, like in my school, Kitengela International School, we have so many clubs. We have a lot of activities that we engage our learners. We ensure that we adjust our timetable to ensure that we accommodate all the aspects of activities, so that all the learners, at least out of over 2,000 learners, one has a place to feel at home. And that one categorically puts us on a map to ensuring that CBC is well implemented and is the best way to go.
How then will the physical structures within a school setting accommodate this? Because so far we're discussing the mental preparedness of, I was about to say teachers, facilitators. We'll get back to that one. But so what is it about the physical structures that you have that then makes it possible to achieve? Because the goals of CBC are fairly lofty. Okay, you want to understand these competencies, whether a child is good at cooking onions, whether it is that they're good at running, whatever it is. What is it that the school will have that enables this to happen?
Yeah, thank you for that. We, as an institution, we have really ensured that we come up with the facilities that are required, the modern labs, the modern libraries, the modern swimming pools, modern pitches or fields, courts. And I've also checked the government schools, the public sector. They are doing great also. And the government is really pumping resources in ensuring that these learners have spaces that are really free. These learners are not just classroom based. They are out there in the pitches playing. They are out there doing projects. They are out there on the markets doing authentic tasks by the Kenya National Examination Council guides. And to me, I'll see that with the collaboration with the public sector, we have ensured that we invite them in our institution to check how this is done.
Sorry, can you give me some of these examples, some examples of some of these tasks that learners, for example, are doing outside of the classroom that's being facilitated by Ministry of Education, for example?
Okay, there is what we call community service learning. And under community service learning is an umbrella, which is very huge. And in this one, the Ministry of Education, together with the Kenya National Examination Council, will actually give a task in relation to maybe this year, there will be a theme, maybe cleaning the market. Or maybe this year, there will be a theme like visiting social places to maybe to the hospitals and see and maybe pray to them or take resources to them or just encourage them to be strong. So these tasks are given with a guide by the Kenya National Examination Council, guided by the KICD and the Ministry of Education.
But they're carried out by the individual schools. So a class, for example, a class teacher will tell you that this week you're going to have an excursion to an agricultural farm or something like that.
Yes.
You also mentioned that the Ministry of Education is facilitating this. But I'm imagining that we have quite a number of schools in the country, and we can look at it from a Kitengela International School perspective, where it's a private facility. But then there are public facilities in the country which unfortunately are not at the moment equipped with what they need. So if one school can go to an agricultural farm, for example, on an excursion because they have a bus, there are other schools that cannot because resources just don't allow. Yes?
Yeah.
How do we then say that we are creating a balance around the country to have one seamless line of education where we have such huge disparities between institutions?
Yeah, since the introduction of CBC, I'll say we have had a few challenges here and there. But I think the government is trying to put resources in ensuring what you are asking is implemented. So to go back to your question.
I'm sorry.
Okay, to go back to your question. Sorry on this one. Allow me to explain.
Please.
Yeah, so to go back to your question, we may say disparities there. And remember, also in private sector, we have challenges because there was no budget that was just meant to improve these facilities. This is just, we didn't increase school fees to make these facilities there. It is that's something that we had to reinvest with the little that we had. Therefore, the government is also doing the same. It's just that maybe the officials on the ground or the people not giving their best. But I'll thank the government because I normally move in private schools, public schools, and you see that disparity is there. But what we always say, as the late Magoha used to quote, let us use locally available resources.
Yeah.
So for for that farm, we don't need to travel to Kiambu in a farm. Let's move to a nearby farm that is there, that's Kumawiki farm, and get the facts right. Let's move closer where we can actually access, and that is makes the difference. So the moment the society understands that this is an inclusive kind of curriculum, it's not about the teacher and the learner, it's about the whole society, the parent, the three pillars: the parent, the school, and the learner. Yeah, therefore I know that disparity is there, but the government, I know it is giving its best based on the schools I've visited. We might have one or two that are extreme cases, like maybe there is a school in Turkana.
I think there are a little bit more than one or two extreme cases where there's a problem.
Maybe just to correct some wrong notion, you see both of you heading to. There's this wrong notion that private schools are well off in terms of implementation of the curriculum. The truth is, there's a balance. Not all private schools are capable to have that space.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, when you talk of Kitengela International School, don't just imagine that all private schools are like that. And ironically, public schools have got better resources to implement the authentic tasks because they have got free government land for that particular school. As opposed to many private schools which
have nothing.
They have nothing. They have no land.
Sure.
They are so squeezed. Then now, when you talk of maybe accessing some agricultural shows or agriculture projects, every region and every county has got an agricultural show, well developed, where public school children are given free access. They don't pay anything. Secondly, that land, they are free to partition it and do all the practicals that they are given and all the tasks. So basically, when you look at what the government has done even in digital literacy, in the integration of the ICT, shockingly, over 80% of public schools, both primary and secondary, have got electricity. At least they can access a computer. So maybe something we can say they are still struggling with is access to internet. But as we speak, generally, the government has invested heavily in those public schools. And remember, they are being facilitated by the government. As opposed to private schools like Kitengela International School, they have got to struggle to put up such a kind of a service. Because you can't ask parents to build for you or buy for you an extra land. So there is a balance, at least we can see. So we can't say that totally public schools are struggling completely now. There's exceptionals that are in extreme. We also have the same in private sector, where we have got some private schools which are also struggling.
Which really struggle. Conversation continues about CBC transition, the gap between public and private. John Wanyonyi, Principal, Kitengela International Junior School, and Elphas Omunandi Chisienye, Administrator and Curriculum Development Expert from the Kitengela International Schools. They are our guests this morning.
When we talk about the gap between public and private schools in the country, what is the gap?
Firstly, the glaring gap is the population of school-going children against the available public schools.
Okay.
It's overwhelming. So the private schools come in to bridge that gap, to offer quality education to the many students who might not be able to reach that public school that is overcrowded. So we bridge in and come in to partner with the government to offer an alternative. So that we don't have everybody going to crowded in a public school.
So in an area where within a 15-kilometer radius, for example, whereby there should be a certain number of public schools, what we're saying is that that number doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
And in order to take care of the children within that community, at least to make sure that they're in school, that's where we see now the introduction of private schools to say, okay, this cannot continue because there will be too many children out of school because they cannot all access that one public school. Okay.
The second gap, as you mentioned earlier before we went for a break, that we have got those first-tier schools which perform very well and they offer quality education. They offer quality opportunities. Now, the private schools also come in to offer the best quality education that many parents would want to give their children, so that we help in increasing the number of best schools in the country. So, and when we do that, we do not necessarily compete the existing schools, but we collaborate and work towards the same goal. Then the third gap that private schools come to fill is now going an extra mile in creating opportunities for the school-going children to be able to explore other disciplines beyond classroom, so that they can be able to engage. Because we look at the CBC, the main objective is to bring up an ethical and engaged child who can be able to be all round, to call it a holistic education. So if you look at the public schools in many regions, they might not be able to access the international space. Now, the private schools like Kitengela International School will give the parents an opportunity for the children to explore the world, to be able to engage with other countries and see how things happen, compete, to realize they are also equal to the task. So if they hear about Finland succeeding in CBC, it's not just it's history, the way you kept learning in all those old days. Yeah. You are just told there is a town somewhere. Now, in private schools, we are able to give them an opportunity to interact and collaborate and have a discussion, have challenges and competitions with those students across the world from those other countries they hear of.
Yeah. How are you able to do that?
Yeah, because we are able to participate in international programs and activities. Like now, for example, the recent one is the World Scholars Cup, where we have got great debaters and scholarly writings. So we have students who came from all over the world, Kitengela International being one of them, taking a group of 30 students to compete at the global rounds in Bangkok, Thailand. From there, they succeeded. They've proceeded all the way to the United States of America for the Tournament of Champions. So they are able to meet other counterparts from different schools. And I can tell you for sure, even in the United States, we had public schools. However, they were secondary schools, but at least I was able to interact with a number of 3-4 schools from the public.
There's some kids from Kitengela who went to America for the...
Yes. We had 30 students who qualified for the Tournament of Champions, and they went to participate. They just came in. They came back yesterday.
How did they do?
Yeah, most of them won the gold medals.
Hey.
They are competitive. Yeah, they are very bright.
So why are public schools not able to do this?
Scarcity of resources.
Which?
When it comes to public schools, the government has the mandate of providing the basic education. So when it comes to those extras, it will now call for the parent to chip in to be able to finance and facilitate.
Isn't it the same case for private? I mean, I don't assume that the owner of a private school is one who's paying out of their pocket for children to go to Bangkok.
And that's why I've mentioned few public schools were there. That means the few who can afford are able to do that. But not all of them can afford.
Why do you think that government, and I think this is for both of you, we must not run away from the reality that it is not a favor that government does in providing education. Sure. They are mandated to provide the system and all the fill-ins that would then ensure that education is delivered to the nation's children. It's their job, right? Why do you think then that it is not possible, because that's the reality, that it is then not possible for that mandate to be fulfilled in its entirety? We have places where it's fulfilled, it's done well. If you have a very good school head, for example, you'll find that particular school, whether there are government challenges with moving money or curriculum challenges, by and large, the school is going to get ahead. We have many examples of those, and they're in the public system. And we have a budget, largest budget item is education.
Yes.
And still we say that there are still gaps. And I'm going to compare it to Rwanda, and please don't tell me I shouldn't, because it's the principle that matters, not the size of country. It is the principle, where in Rwanda as of 2023 we saw private schools shutting down. Why? Because the public system became so efficient that people removed their children from private school and put them back into the public system. And so private business owners said, you know what? We cannot survive anymore. Why would we? What is it? A lack of resources? Is it a lack of discipline? What is it that would say that you can turn around something in 5 short years, but then here where you have a big ticket budget item, but we're still not able to deliver so much, so that private schools have to come and fill in? Why is that?
Okay, to come in on that one, first of all, we'll check on the processes or the processes of the government go through, or the people are involved in ensuring that these resources come on top and trickle down without wastage up to the last person. And you will notice that there is a lot of a little bit discrepancies or the issues that come up with the processes, procurement. Everybody will feel I should eat or take something from here, and need pass the next one to this one. This one will take a half of it, and at the moment it reaches that teacher, that facilitator in class, in one way or another, that resource is depleted and it's not useful anymore. So you will check that. Apart from that, the government should also, I will say, they are trying in many cases on retooling, that what we call training of the current staff, where things used to be done maybe in an analog way, and now retool these administrators or facilitators with the current skills or the modern 21st century skills, to ensure that they know how to utilize resources digitally in the digital world. So you will find there is a gap there in terms of knowledge or how to utilize resources and also set priorities. So if priorities are not set right, like in most institutions in Kenya, you find that school is not performing and there is complaints all over. So you notice that principal who is ready to come up with the 21st century skills and initiate and train the staff, those schools are definitely performing. And I can quote one. There's a school called Utumishi along Emali. That school is like, if you get there, you think it's a private school. And it is because of management and administration.
Yes.
Yeah. Therefore, if the government will really work on integrity and training of the and selection of principals and officials of schools or education sector that are authentic, we are headed places as a country. Yeah.
That is strange in that we talk of Rwanda and what they've done, and yet in an earlier time, now I'm speaking of a time when I was a student, the schools of choice were public schools.
Yeah.
They were private schools, but they were really very few.
Very few.
Sure.
Very, very few. The United States that you went to, you will compare that. If you look at statistics, in 2023, there are 49 million students in public schools and just 4 million in private. I mean, the public school, and even if you look at in terms of facilities, in terms of what the public schools have, the public schools in many instances are a school of choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
People prefer to go to the public schools. Now, in our case here, the option for private schools is because there is a feeling, and it keeps growing, that the public schools, despite their best efforts, cannot offer the sort of education that parents would like.
And that those that would are already full to the brim.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the parents vote with their feet because, and that is why a school like Kitengela International is what it is, because parents are voting with their feet. They look and they look, what do I want for my child? They figure, because there are public schools near where your schools are at.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Maybe just to paint a different picture to that knowledge is, one of the reasons why I think the government is getting a lot of pressure not up to the task. I think basically, apart from misplaced priorities and maybe some leadership gaps, the pressure of population, the way it has been growing in Kenya, it is like overwhelming the government, because the number of school-going children increases exponentially every coming year.
Is it something that the government suddenly finds has surprised them in the morning?
It's not a shock.
Or is it something that they can see is happening before their very eyes?
You have entire planning departments who give you these statistics on a rolling basis, and one would assume that it is that information that you then use to make a decision. One would assume, I could be wrong, but one would think that because you have departments like that, you take the information that they give you
and you use it.
Where
are you going with this?
Sorry?
Where are you going with this? So let's continue. So the government is overwhelmed.
It's overwhelmed
by the numbers.
Right. But now, the way you are putting it, I was almost heading there.
Okay, please, I'm sorry.
Consistency. Consistency in any regime matters a lot.
Okay.
In Kenya, we lack consistency. Because every day we get a policymaker in a docket that concerns education. They come with their mindset. And remember, KICD and NEC and any other party involved in making policies that design the curriculum and implementation, for them, they will do their work. They will wait for funding.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? As they wait for funding, if they are not funded, what happens?
Their work moves nowhere.
Yeah. So it will mean there's a delay, but doesn't mean that it has stopped.
Yeah.
So it's a delayed. The moment they delay, the population doubles. The second challenge that is making private schools to be more, and I will use examples in terms of region balance. For example, in Kitengela some 10 years ago was like a bush.
No, it was not like a bush. It was a bush.
Yes. So, to date, when you go and count public schools, there are very few.
Yeah.
Very few.
Population has moved there, the government has not.
So the population moved there, and the government
stayed where it was before.
Yes. So they were running when already the population is there. Now, when you look at regions like Western, private schools are very few.
Yes.
And the best performing schools in Western are public schools.
Yes.
Go to Nyanza, same case.
Yes.
Go to other regions that are well developed. Go to Nakuru, for example. We have got equally best public schools that are competing seriously. So the private schools came in to bridge the gap in the areas that the population came in before the government could realize. And that's why you realize when they were coming to change again the curriculum reforms, they began something new that needed a lot of capitation.
You know, Mwalimu, you're a kind man. And you're thoughtful and thoughtful about your government. The data that the Kenya Bureau of Statistics gathers about everything that we do even gives them information about where people are moving to and how they're moving and the numbers, and they can project. If you have factories coming up in a particular area, the population is going to grow, because as people work there, they'll want to also reside there.
Yes.
Okay? Again, if one school comes up, because part of the requirements that the building codes have is when you put up, say, a certain development, say you build houses, part of that development includes schools, even if it's just kindergarten, includes a health facility. These are things which are planned for. I started early on by saying in a time when I was in school, why it was the complete opposite is, I find it daunting that over the years we have rolled back instead of moving forward.
Yes.
Because the thing that we had, which worked well within the public sector, it's the same with the health sector. Okay? And the question is, education, is it devolved?
Nope.
Okay. It's not devolved. So the people who make the decisions, you think they change very much?
Yeah, they don't change very much.
Yes, and the people who actually supposedly implement, do you think they change very much? No, they don't. Because every time you hear of an issue within the education sector, it involves huge amounts of money that have gone where they shouldn't have gone in the first place.
Sure.
See? Now, all those things represent that development which should have gone to the public, which doesn't get to the public. And it's year in and it's year out.
True.
Yes.
So, for example, now Kitengela International has invested in 3 schools that are offering junior.
Yes,
Right?
3 schools are offering junior secondary.
3 schools offering junior.
Yes.
And this is because of a growing demand.
Yes.
Because people are looking for quality education for their children, right? So as a conclusion again, where are those 3 schools? The main one?
The main one is based in Kitengela, just 5 kilometers from Kitengela town. The second one is at Syokimau, Beijing Road, Syokimau branch. Then Great Walls Garden in Athi River, the Kisk Athi River branch.
And you're the principal of all those 3?
I'm the principal at the main school.
You're the Oga at the main school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Right. John Wanyonyi is the school principal, Kitengela International Junior School. Elphas Omunandi Chisienya is the administrator and curriculum development expert. Now you cut across all.
Yeah.
It's quality. You're the quality assurance person.
Yeah, I work.
Making sure that not the teachers, they're called who?
Facilitators.
Are well equipped with all the knowledge and skill to deliver this quality education to all the children.
Sure.
Asanteni sana for joining us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.